Hey everyone, it's the Hey Poopy Podcast. What that booty do from poop to pleasure to health, hosted by me, Dave.
And me, Ellen, two curious people removing the stigma from your stinker. And why are we doing this? Because we love laughing and learning about butts and helping them to be the best that they can be. And on this week's episode, we have Brenda Staudenmaier, and she's talking to us all about wastewater treatment plants.
Yes, the place where your shit goes.
Do you know?
Yeah, well, most people don't. And you're going to find out things like people flushing bowling balls or random butt plugs or dildos. So you can hear more about that in clips like this.
So if the pressure gets too high, instead of breaking the pump, it'll rupture a disc and it'll just shoot shit all over the room, and it could fill up the room if you don't get there in time and like shut valves.
Oh my God.
So you can usually tell when you walk into the control room if someone had a rupture disc that day. Like you can smell it from their clothes and be like,
oh my God.
So they're like getting poo all over themselves.
Sometimes. I mean, I've gotten poo.
Partially treated poo?
Yeah, I've gotten it in my mouth. It's
Holy shit.
Yeah, you gotta
Did you
be
get a
careful.
shot?
You gotta be careful. And my boss always says, Brenda, keep your eyes open and your mouth closed in this industry.
Wear goggles.
Sometimes you'll find a valve that's closed and you're like, why is this valve closed? And then as soon as you open, like shit'll squirt out in your face or something. And it's like, oh, that's why that was closed.
That is vile. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So make sure like you're not flushing things down the toilet that don't belong in the toilet.
Exactly. And do you want to know more about Dave and I? Well, head over to heypoopypodcast.com for our merch, Patreon, cartoons, and so much more.
Yes, do that. And on to the shit show.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
I'm just, trying to find a place with like-minded people to talk about like-minded things about me, about poop and stuff.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
Oh man, what's this right here? Is this a podcast about poop?
Hey everybody, welcome back on this dump day.
Hey everybody, this is the Hey Poopy Podcast with
Dave
and Ellen, and this is episode 205. 205. It'll always be number 2 to us, our favorite number. And we have a very special guest today, Brenda. And I'm not going to be able to say your last name because my brain just blanked out. Staudenmaier. We have Brenda Staudenmaier.
Yeah, I work at a wastewater plant in Wisconsin.
But you are somebody who knows poop better than probably Dave and I do.
I mean, most people, I'd imagine.
No poop better than us?
I mean, if you're working with it, you're working with it day to day.
You said most people.
Well, most people in the country, for sure. I mean, us, maybe not. I don't know. Possibly.
No. I mean, wastewater treatment plant people and proctologists and like colorectal.
I mean, I would say you definitely know more than probably anybody in the rest of the country.
Yes,
so
yes. Oh, now I know what you're saying. I thought you meant something else. Sorry. My brain is so fried today. But anyway, hey, welcome. And before we go into who you are, we'd like to go into have you pooped today?
I have pooped. I pooped twice today.
Ah.
Nice.
And were they morning Bristol stool chart?
Yes, I did. I did the Bristol stool chart when I pooped this morning because I knew that was one of the questions that you were going to ask. So the first poop was a 3.
Oh.
And the second poop was a 4.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
That's great.
And the second one was a little hot,
Oh.
a little spicy.
Oh, something you ate
kicked me
last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
I think it was the spicy jalapenos I had.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
that'll
that
do it
makes
too.
sense. Peppers
sure.
go in hot and leave hot.
They burn you twice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dave, how have you been pooping?
Pretty good. I've gone twice, once in the morning for the gym and then like an hour or so ago. So yeah, pretty like 5, maybe 6. I don't know. I feel like I had a lot of, what did I have a lot of? I had this like crazy spicy soup that we made the other night. So it was just sort of liquidy, but it was good. But yeah, this is my normal 2 today. There'll probably be another one tonight.
Yes, that's
So
good.
we'll see.
I went mushroom foraging a week ago and got a bunch of chanterelles, and they are insanely fibrous. So last night for dinner, I had a kale salad and some mushrooms. And today, after my coffee, I made one of the biggest poos I've made in a very long time. And it was so healthy. Bristol 4. I want to say it broke in half, but I want to say it was easy over a foot long.
Right.
So much coming out of me. Thanks to the power of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not magic mushrooms, just regular.
Yeah.
mushrooms.
I assumed.
Yes. I'm not mad at...
You said chanterelle. So
Yes. Well, I've had a couple people like, how do you know they're not going to poison you if you foraged for them? And I'm like, we hire a guide. And they're like, how do you know that they're not tripping mushrooms? And I'm like, because they're not. Like,
yeah, I'm sure you can. Plus, there's like a guide, I'm sure a book.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Exactly.
Yeah, isn't there an app now?
Yeah.
Well, those you can't trust because a lot of people have been just like taking pictures and the app will tell them it's something that's not poisonous and ends up being poisonous. So I wouldn't trust it. I usually go foraging with a guide, so I trust him.
Good to know.
Yeah, he's not going to poison us. So
Cool.
So Brenda, before now that we've checked in, tell us more about what you do besides your poo.
Well, I work day to day operating a wastewater treatment facility. So it basically means that I make sure that everything is flowing where it needs to flow and the parameters are meeting the regulations that
That's amazing.
we have.
And how long have you been doing this?
Almost 5 years.
Wow. And you got your education in it?
I went to school for environmental engineering with a focus on drinking water and wastewater.
Oh, wow.
And then I can't really work in the drinking water field because I have a federal lawsuit right now against the United States Environmental Protection Agency over the neurotoxicity of fluoride chemicals that they add to our drinking water and tell us they're good for our teeth. So I chose to work on the shitty side of things. And it's more
literally.
I'm really interested in like human health and the environment, and wastewater just seemed like the most important area to work in because there are so many problems that we don't think about and we just flush them away. And I also I've worked as a photographer and making videos and stuff. So I like to capture some of those stories about the problems and help people become more aware of, the role that they play and how it affects the whole planet that we live on.
Completely.
Cool.
And we've learned on this show that a lot of people just flush their toilets and don't think about the next steps. And so that educating people about that, I think, is so important to understand that thanks to sewer treatment plants that we actually have a healthier environment, but then also to like not flush things like baby wipes down or pretty much anything except for what I like to call it the 5 P's: poop, pee, puke, period, blood, and toilet paper. And that's it. And so, yeah, I mean, like you are on the front lines of seeing all of that.
We get a lot of plastic tampon applicators, condoms, dildos, butt plugs. Let's see. A lot of toys, IDs, keys. People call up looking for, their wedding rings that fell down the toilet. Or, we had the police call us recently looking for body parts because somebody had hacked up their parents and they couldn't find all the pieces. So they were wondering if we came across anything.
Wow.
Now you need to be on a murder podcast, not just a shit show like ours.
Yeah, well, we have that shit business girl in Wisconsin. I don't know if you've followed that case, but she was doing meth with this boy and they were both about 23 and they were having sex and she strangled him to death.
Wow.
And then she cut him all up and his mom came downstairs and found his head in a bucket with his penis and balls.
Wow.
And so if you Google Taylor Shabusiness, you will find it made the news all over in the UK, everywhere.
Wow.
But they just did that trial like a month ago.
Oh my God.
They live streamed the whole thing.
Oh my God.
One of my girlfriends babysat for that boy that she cut up when he was a child.
Oh my God.
So
drugs are heavy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, in Wisconsin we have that's where Jeffrey Dahmer came from. Like,
wow.
Yeah. You guys groom murderers. It seems.
Oh my goodness.
And wait, so you said, I mean, I guess you have like a lot. Do you have a lost and found at the water?
We do.
treatment plant?
We have a couple of, we have one for like the public to see, and it's full of like toys and keys and IDs. And then we have like the private one that's like for the employees to see, and it's got like butt plugs and little booze bottles and all kinds of weird stuff that comes down. We actually, somebody tried to put a bowling ball down, and it got stuck in one of our pumps.
Of course.
And like the mechanics had to like chisel it apart, and it was a
my
big
God.
headache. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. And I know another wastewater plant that's had like kayaks come through, and
How
like,
is that possible?
I don't know if people put things down manholes
Oh.
and that's how it gets there, or I don't know. Sometimes when there's a flooding event where there's a lot of rain, sometimes
Yeah.
there's I&I. So that might be why it comes in. I don't know.
When we had John, was it John? I think from the one in Cleveland. He was saying that they found an alligator,
Yeah.
couches, just randomly, like just weird shit. People just we'll just get rid of it this way. Just throw it down there. It's pretty wild.
Well, I suppose if you don't want to pay for your bulk pickup garbage day, just put it down the
I
toilet.
guess.
Yeah, right?
Seems like more of a pain in the ass, I guess. But
Literally.
apparently there's a lot of sex toys going down these. I didn't even think about that, like dildos and butt plugs. I mean, you think the butt plugs are coming out by accident?
I don't know.
They're sliding out. Oh shit!
I don't know if someone's trying to hide their stash and they're like,
Right.
oh shit.
Do you find like drugs and money?
You know, some people do find money, and I think a lot of kitchen guys will wrap up cellophane from when they unwrap something, and they make it in a ball, and that comes down all the time. And I get a lot of that, and I'll always I'm like, oh, look at that big ball. Let's fish it out and see if there's drugs or something good in it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I pull out my knife and cut it apart, and it's just plastic.
Oh.
So it's like the kitchen guys, they must play basketball or something.
Oh my
In the toilet,
God.
into the toilet.
Or
Oh my
into the
God.
sink.
To the
Yeah,
sink.
yeah.
Wow.
Ugh.
I mean, you must get inundated with what else have you found? What other weird stuff?
We
I mean,
get
it
a
must be
lot of dirty
constant.
needles, and I'm not sure if that's because porta potties don't have a sharp disposal in them, and people are just chucking them in porta potties and then they get emptied at my facility
So the porta potty gets emptied out at.
at the wastewater
wow.
plant.
Ah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
See,
Yeah.
I've been dying to get somebody who works for a porta potty company to come on, and I can't get anybody to respond to me. So I've been dying to know how all that works.
Yeah.
You know?
I did a photo series on shit haulers at Door County, and I photographed all the shit haulers.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
They were crazy. They come in, collect the porta potties and suck it all out, or they suck out the septic systems.
Oh yeah.
And they had a lot of funny stories on how, Bob had his whole septic system full of condoms when they sucked it out. And they're like, yo, Bob, you can't be flushing these condoms. They're going to plug your drain field. And Bob's like, I haven't had sex in years. It must be my 13-year-old daughter. Or,
Oh
there's
shit.
crazy stuff that always happens that these shit haulers have stories for.
Wow.
That's the funny thing is everybody's flushing stuff down the toilet thinking that it's just going to be hidden. And it's the opposite happens. Find it. If you wrap it in a tissue and put it in the garbage, I bet nobody would find it. You know?
Right.
But flushing stuff is the secrets are out there to be found.
I think it's out of sight, out of mind, and then they don't know where anything goes. It's like, oh, cool. It just goes away. That's all
Yeah.
they care about. It's just away.
That's crazy.
They don't realize that a lot of the biosolids then gets land applied. So plastic and stuff ends up in these biosolids that are used to grow our food that we eat.
Yeah.
And I think that's concerning, and people should be more aware. And I think everybody should have to, there are certain jobs that everyone should have to do in their life. Everybody should have to wait tables. Everybody should have to work in a wastewater plant.
Yeah. Or at
just
least
to
get
learn this.
a tour of it to understand where everything goes. And where working as a waiter or waitress, I think also yes, because then you could actually treat the person with some respect when you go out. But people need to be educated more on how these things work.
You should get a discount if you buy a home to actually go look at to go hang out, do X amount of hours
Yeah.
at a waste treatment plant, because you're going to be saving so much money anyway if you're not flushing that shit down the drain.
Yeah. I mean, it costs a lot of money when, we have to unclog these clogs. I think I sent you an image of me with a giant 6-foot fork fishing out baby wipes.
Oh my God.
Because those baby wipes will just snag on one little thing. And then before you know it, there are, 6 wheelbarrows
Yeah.
full of diaper wipes that clogged up the whole system. And then that cost the ratepayers higher,
Yeah.
rates that they have to pay. It costs a lot in labor
Yeah.
and broken equipment. And,
And that's
kinds
all
of stuff.
taxpayers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ratepayers technically. So we don't take taxpayer money. We charge people. So that's how
Who are you charging though?
the people that live on the system.
Oh.
And then we also charge certain municipalities. They're like the wholesale customer. So we'll charge that municipality and then they will charge their people.
Is that tacked on to like a water bill kind of thing?
Yeah, usually on your water bill, it'll have your sewer charges
Gotcha.
as well.
I have a place in Asbury Park and I have my water bill and then I have a separate quarterly sewer bill. Yeah. So my sewer bill has reflecting, but the sewer bill is supposed to reflect on how much water I use and then they charge me, but I'm always like confused by that number too. So yeah, I get it now. That sewer bill is going towards everybody else flushing baby wipes.
Or bowling balls.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
for
So
alligators.
crazy. Or
That is crazy though, like a bowling ball. I mean, Jesus. I mean, but that's, I used to my parents live near the Erie Canal in Rochester. So it was like, it's not very far, but it's long. It cuts across pretty much a good chunk of New York. But in the summer, it rises like to, 16 feet or something like that. But in the winter, it goes down to like 6. And you can see all the shit people just throw in there. I've seen cars in there. Who's pushing a car into the canal? All kinds of crazy shit, like swing sets, just random stuff that's just like sitting there in the muck.
Yeah.
And you see it just sticking out of the water. It's like crazy.
Have you ever gone magnet fishing?
No.
You take a giant magnet and you throw it over a bridge and you'll like pull up like bicycles and all kinds
Wow.
of metal stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely seen bikes in there too, but that's wild.
Yeah. It's just also so weird. Like people have money to buy this stuff, but they just want to dump it in the sewer. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. So working at the wastewater plant, do you smell smells?
Sometimes, yeah. Some of the buildings, they smell mostly like ammonia.
Oh, okay.
The ones that are really
So
smelly.
it's more like pee than poo. 'Cause pee does. I honestly think pee can smell worse than poo. Yeah.
We do have an acid digester too, so it gets a little hotter in temperature, and the poop that comes out of it, my son loves it. He loves to always watch me do we call it a TWAS sample, and it comes out like a soft serve Dairy Queen. But if you smell it, it's really, really sour.
Yeah.
And usually, so our pumps have these things called rupture discs on them. So if the pressure gets too high, instead of breaking the pump, it'll rupture a disc and it'll just shoot shit all over the room, and it could fill up the room if you don't get there in time
my
and like
God.
shut valves.
Oh my God.
So you can usually tell when you walk into the control room if someone had a rupture disc that day. Like you can smell it from their clothes and be like,
Oh my God.
So they're like getting poo all over themselves.
sometimes. I mean, I've gotten poo.
partially treated poo.
Yeah, I've gotten it in my mouth. It's
Holy shit.
Yeah, you gotta
Did you
be
get a shot?
careful. You gotta be careful. And my boss always says, Brenda, keep your eyes open and your mouth closed in this
And wear
industry.
goggles.
And like, sometimes you'll find a valve that's closed and you're like, why is this valve closed? And then as soon as you open, like shit'll squirt out in your face or something. And it's like, oh, that's why that was closed.
That is vile. Oh my God.
Yeah. But
Oh my.
But the shit that I see, it looks mostly like chocolate, like pudding or
Yeah,
something. It's pretty. Unless you go to Headworks and you see like the RV people dropping off their RV loads, and it's kind of awkward because it's like a little man
my
holding the
God.
hose, and you can see his like fresh turds coming out into like the
Oh my
trough.
God.
I don't really like seeing that.
Yeah.
But the poop mostly, like by the time it gets to the wastewater plant, by the time it goes through all of those centrifugal pumps and stuff, like you don't even see
I was
it.
gonna say it's probably so at that point. So but I guess at the front of the line, people just dumping off raw whatever. That's got to be just like the worst place.
Yeah.
Is that the same place where they drop off like the porta potties and
Yes.
everything? Oh my God.
What is
Wow.
the blue liquid in a porta potty? Do you know?
I don't know what that is. but-
Why do they have to use that versus? I'm guessing that like it's a deodorizer or something.
That's what I would think,
or
too.
antibacterial, just in case. But like, is that kind of thing harder for you guys to process?
I have not noticed that.
Okay.
By the time it gets diluted down, because we have like, I don't know, 30 to 40 million gallons of water a day that's coming through.
Wow.
So those porta potties aren't,
They're just
mixed up.
Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
just getting diluted. Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of water.
Yeah, and we've treated up to like 130 million gallons of water a day when we have really heavy rainfalls. But you'll see like other cities like Milwaukee and Chicago, like I don't know if New York does it or not, when they have really heavy rains, like sometimes they just got to discharge
Yes.
that right straight
Yeah.
into the,
Yeah,
and then
they
have
do
to
that at
close
the ocean,
beaches.
and then if it's a lot of heavy rain, they're like you can't swim. Yeah, they have to wait till it dilutes out of the ocean for people to go
it's
in
usually
the
the E.
ocean.
coli numbers, but also like geese. When you see a lot of geese pooping on the beaches and stuff, like they're pooping out tons of E. coli too. So it's not always the wastewater plants.
Right.
Sometimes it's just nature itself.
Yeah.
These ducks and geese.
Oh, that's awful.
I just Googled what the blue stuff is, a porta potty. They're saying it's like a liquid portable restroom. It's like deodorizer.
Yeah.
Early porta potties use formaldehyde.
Ooh, oh,
I'm not
that's
going through
so
the whole
bad.
article right now, but yeah, they've since changed that. But
Yeah,
I think
really
it's just more
bad.
like it's to mask the smell, which it probably lasts like one
It doesn't-
dump.
Yeah, it doesn't do very well. I know that.
Oh, but that's just got to be. God, I couldn't imagine seeing that.
Yeah. I work at the farmer's market selling cheese sometimes on the weekends in Green Bay. And like the porta potty at that farmer's market, it'll be like almost touching the seat. And I'm like, is anyone going to empty this?
Yeah.
Like, this is terrible.
Oh my God, it's like going to a festival.
Yes.
Woo!
And they probably just keep it out there the whole season instead
Yeah.
of like,
I'm sure somebody comes and like sucks it out.
yeah,
So many
but not
times.
often enough. Yeah.
So as part of your job, do you do like research as far as sampling the water, like what's in it?
Yep.
I mean, obviously what's in it, but if you're looking for anything,
Yeah, we did a lot of COVID sampling during COVID. I believe the COVID sampling is still going on. New York, I know they were sampling for like polio, and there's this whole national thing to track certain viruses and stuff. And we had some weird strain in our system, and you can track like where the problems are coming from. You just go to the pump stations or go back and start doing testing and find out if it shows up in that test. And like we catch people all the time like dumping paint down the manholes or something by tracing it back, because we have a whole collection systems guys that go and take samples from different pump stations, so you can tell if
what's
there's a
going there.
problem, where is this problem kind of coming from.
The crazy thing is, if you had paint, so to speak, you would never dump that, or at least you would think people would be smart enough to not dump it into an ocean or a river or a pond. But then they do it into the sewer. It's basically the same thing. It's like so counter.
Yeah, sometimes it's usually contractors that are dumping it.
idiots.
We've also seen contractors or somebody dumped a bunch of cement into one of the manholes.
Oh my God.
So then all the tubes of toothpaste and tampon plastics, all this stuff collected to it, and they like
course.
chiseled it out, and it's like a trophy on a shelf in one of
Jesus.
our boss's office.
wow.
Yeah, because I know people who even like scoop their cat litter and dump it into, but a lot of cat litter, the clumping is concrete. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Put it in the trash. Yeah.
Put it in a bag like a normal person. I also read, they would track stuff like in West Virginia for like opioid abuse.
Oh yeah.
But then COVID too, because just recently, there's this new strain of COVID in New York. They're saying that the wastewater was like a big indicator. They're finding like recently. So it's pretty amazing, like how you can sort of go back and track where things are sort of happening.
Yeah, I
find
think
that
it was
fascinating.
in London they were doing that, and they could find like on Fridays like the cocaine and like different drugs like MDMA and stuff went up in their
peak.
wastewater.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
and then like it would drop off on Monday or something.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everybody's partying on the weekend. Oh my
That's
goodness.
so fascinating to me. Like you can just figure out that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, real contact tracing.
Yeah.
Wow. Brenda, can we ask you some of our regular questions?
Yes.
Unless you have more to tell us. But our favorite question to ask, especially for somebody who works at a wastewater treatment plant, is what brand of toilet paper do you use, and do you put it on the roll over or under?
So I used to be able to find my sugarcane toilet paper
Uh-huh.
because I don't like to wipe my butt with recycled paper.
Yeah.
Because of all the BPAs, and they say a lot of PFAS.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if you guys are
Yeah.
familiar with the PFAS chemicals.
No, what's
it's
that?
like the Teflon cookware, the non-stick stuff.
Yeah.
The
Forever.
fire foam
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is now contaminating all of our toilet paper as well. So I have been getting into bidets lately.
Oh, yeah.
I need one in my house, and I'm going to try to talk the wastewater plant into getting some bidets now.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, they're great. We have a little Snap-on one here. It's awesome.
Have you, what about bamboo toilet paper?
I haven't tried that, but I have seen you can order it online.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love bamboo toilet paper. That's what I use.
Yeah.
And you can get it unbleached too. So it's just like no chemicals whatsoever. Because most toilet paper being white, it's bleached. And that's even bad for your under areas. So yeah. Ugh. Awful.
Yeah, so I wanted to do like a toilet paper company and like do a Kickstarter and just grow mullein plants.
Oh.
That was like the Indian toilet paper, they would call it. It's soft like a bunny ear. And I just kind of wanted to do it as a joke to see if like anyone would, it would get any attention. But like the mullein plants, they grow huge and they grow everywhere. And you could just pick off a leaf and wipe your butt and flush it down.
There's a guy that we had on one of our news articles who does that. And I tried to contact him because he's living completely like off the grid. And he talks about using leaves as toilet paper.
He does demos out and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I tried to get him on the podcast, but he's like, I'm very busy right now. And I'm like, living off the grid? Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I use the sugarcane toilet paper, but I don't think that's the most eco-friendly because the sugarcane industry causes a lot of pollution. And I believe that they burn all the irrigation for the sugarcane when they're done with the season.
Oh, that's not good.
So I should look into the bamboo.
Yeah, there's one company that we interviewed more recently, plant paper, that at least I like. I still get them. You got some.
Yeah, I got some. I have to get some more actually.
Yeah, I really love
We ran
them.
out, but it's good. Yeah, I like it.
And do you sit or stand to wipe your butt?
Oh, we didn't answer
I
the
sit.
you didn't answer the
Oh.
over under.
So a lot of times my rolls of toilet paper don't even make it onto the roller thing. It just gets,
Oh, behind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like on the top of the toilet on the back.
Cool. So at least it's there.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. There's some in the bathroom somewhere.
I asked my kid, I'm like, do we put our toilet paper over or under? And he goes, I think we do it both ways. It just depends.
Nice.
Just whatever happens. Oh, you were saying before we started recording, talking about your kid, that you potty trained him from the very beginning, which I didn't even know this was an option.
Yeah. So one of my girlfriends married a guy from India, and a lot of people don't use diapers or they can't afford diapers. And I guess it's popular in China as well. It's called elimination communication or potty whispering. So babies come out potty trained just like any animal, and they have these signals that they communicate to us when they have to potty. And if you breastfeed, they'll bob on and off the boob. I've seen a lot of like moms on breastfeeding groups. They're like, my baby won't latch on. They keep bobbing on and off the boob. I'm like, they have to go potty. But nobody really thinks about this. And we put them in diapers and then they learn to ignore it. So with my son, the first day he was born, you know when they're pooping because they're like,
Yeah, they make a face, they get red. Yeah.
and it takes a while for the poop to actually come out. So that gives you plenty of time to remove the diaper and just straddle the toilet backwards. And I would just rub his feet and I would grunt with him. So then they learn to associate the sound with the sensation. It's like potty training a dog. So I would go pss, pss, pss for peeing and I would go for pooping.
Oh.
And he was out of diapers by 3.5 months. It took me about 5.5 weeks to figure out the peeing part. The pooping was really easy. I would breastfeed him in a bowl without any diaper on, just so I could watch to see what were his signs when he had to go pee. Usually he would get a little boner before he has to pee. So that was easy. And then also they don't potty in their sleep. So whenever they wake up from a nap, I would take them and I would just pee him in the bathtub because there's plenty of
I
space
pee in the bathtub.
to,
It's fine.
and then just rinse it down.
Yeah.
So, I would get up in the middle of the night multiple times and just pee him in the bathtub. And then I didn't have to turn on any lights or anything. And I don't know, he was out of diapers by 3.5 months. The only accidents he would really have is if you didn't potty him before you put him down to play on the floor, then he would potty because they know not to potty in their environment when they're holding him. So they usually wait until you put him down. And they learn bladder control when you potty train them from birth. So
That's amazing.
because when they're first born, they pee like every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fascinating. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
And you're
tons of
saving
books
so
on it.
much money on diapers.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's better for the environment. It's just like a win-win.
Yeah, with my first son, Hayden, I got those like eco-friendly diapers and they were like brown and whatever. And then I found out they're just normal diapers and they like color them brown so they look more
Are you
eco-friendly.
serious?
That's so stupid.
And
Wow.
so I was like,
Not surprising though.
I'm like, oh, what a sucker I am. I fell for that whole greenwash campaign.
Yeah. Shit.
That's
So
hilarious.
I wanted to, I wanted to see if I could do it, if I could potty train him from birth. And it was so easy. And my friends were like, that's crazy that this works. And he would potty for anyone.
Wow.
Wow. That is a cool parlor trick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like my life revolved around peeing and pooping for like 2 years.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
A lot at work, at home. It's just like nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so when you got to a point where he's walking and able to do like, was it just really easy? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's got to be. People must have been like, "This is crazy. Can you help my kid?"
Well, I was shopping at like Kohl's and he was a couple weeks old. And I was in the checkout and he kept bobbing on and off my boob. And I'm like, just wait. And I went and I took him to the bathroom and I peed him over the sink and a nurse was coming out of the bathroom stall and she goes, oh, do you need help? And I was like, no, hang on. I go, pss, 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 and he starts peeing. And she goes, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. What are you doing? And I told her all about it. And she's like, that is crazy. Like, people don't know that you can do this. And
That's awesome.
there's tons
Well,
of
I'm
books
sure the
and
diaper
videos.
industry keeps that secret under lock and key.
Oh, yeah.
I know,
You know,
but
it's just,
there's,
that's bullshit. Just use a diaper.
they take up so much space in the landfill.
Yeah. It's a costly expense for a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, how does a baby normally last in diapers? Over a year, I imagine, right?
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Sometimes
Jesus.
3.
Yeah.
Sometimes they
have
wear like
pull-ups and
pull-ups until
stuff.
they're
Yeah.
like
Wow.
5.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm like, this kid's getting out of these diapers now.
Yeah.
I would not be able to deal with that.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, good for you. That's amazing.
And what is your personal first memory of poops or farts as a kid?
So I had 3 older brothers and they were teenagers when I was little. So they always would like, shove my head under the blanket and fart. And then like I couldn't get out, So that's, I also grew up on a farm. So, we had 5 horses and cows. So we always had poop laying around. Or
You just like been like, this is like since day one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like you were born to do
Yeah.
this.
yeah. And I don't have any fetishes for poop. Don't worry, guys.
Neither
That's
do
okay.
I. And Dave, it's surprising how many people have asked us that, or at least asked me that. They're like, oh, but you love buttholes. And I'm like, talking about them like, well, you love poop. So yeah, it's very funny that people automatically go there. It's like, no, it's not sexual if you listen to the show.
I mean, we've had guests on here where it is sexual.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
their thing.
But if you listen to the show, the 205
Oh, yeah, we're
episodes
not-
of you and
we're not-
I,
of course, yes.
we're personally, we're curious about other people's, but yes. It's very funny how people automatically put that in the same category. And you're like, no, it's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to buy some of the poop, just let me know. I would love to
Hook you
have a
up.
side hustle.
Yeah. Little baggies.
That'd be
Conquer the black
hilarious.
The trunk of your
market.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people out there would love that. They're like,
Oh my
wait,
God.
what?
That's
I can get filtered
hilarious.
shit. We have the different stages of the water treatment. Like, which one do you want?
I mean, do you test the poo sometimes, like not just for like COVID, but like other stuff to like see if certain kinds of STIs or bacteria or whatever?
I'm not sure about STIs, but we do test for pharmaceuticals and metals and stuff like that. We don't do it regularly. I forget if it's a quarterly or, semi-annually or how often we do it, but we do tests.
Imagine too, you're sharing information probably, I'm guessing, with other treatment plants that are like, hey, we're seeing this thing. Were you guys seeing anything similar in your city? Or I can imagine that would probably happen.
Well, there are wastewater treatment like associations. There's water associations and wastewater associations. So a lot of them, they have magazines that come out every month and they're always sharing information
Oh, cool.
and problems and troubleshooting and stuff like that. And then there's also like a whole world of consultants that help with this stuff too. And they'll get hired on to try to solve problems if we can't figure it out.
Oh, wow.
I know we're dipping in and out of this, but how many people work at your facility?
We have
roughly?
over 130 people.
Oh,
Most
wow.
of them are in like the upper, management
Okay.
and HR kind of stuff. But
And you're in the trenches.
yeah, there's about a dozen of us that are in the trenches. You know, we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
And do you guys take turns, like who gets to work on Christmas, or is it like seniority kind of thing?
I will always work holidays anytime because you get overtime and time and a half.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money working a holiday.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
What is the next step though? Do you want to stay in the trenches or do you want to go up to corporate? Like what?
I look at it as a research project right now to kind of be able to see all the problems because I have an interest in litigation. Like I'm suing the EPA right now and I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I will probably do something to help clean up our wastewater and our biosolids in some way in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's important that everybody should know.
And these regulatory bodies are really slow to act. And
Yes.
so we have these problems. Well, they lag like 20 years behind on the problems. And, you know, they keep telling us, well, our water is safe and great. But it's like, just because it meets regulations doesn't mean that it's safe and healthy. And so I would like to help, you know, speed up some of these regulatory processes. So
Agreed.
then human health and
cut through
the
the
environment
bureaucracy.
are
Yeah.
protected more.
It is interesting like how that stuff never. It's just like, and then when it finally does get a law gets passed or something, they're like, "See, we did it." It's like, well, how long did that take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's already another problem down the road that we haven't like got to yet. So don't go pat yourself on the back just yet.
Yeah.
That's always an issue with that kind of stuff. And I guess you're seeing it day to day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like walking around like, oh, that's weird. Like, why is the, you know, by the time we notice it,
Yeah, the PFAS are the big hot topic right now. So
that's
It's
crazy. I
so-
didn't know anything about
You
that.
didn't know about forever chemicals?
No, I know about forever chemicals. When she's talking about like going into like, you know, like leaching up the plastics and everything into the, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's in everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
I had my blood tested, and I had my son's blood tested also for PFAS. His blood is way more loaded than mine.
wow.
And I reached out to some of like the experts in the world on PFAS who are the researchers. And we kind of concluded that when he breastfed for 3 years, he was probably removing the PFAS from my body and concentrating them in his.
Wow.
So now there's a whole debate of like, is breast better or formula because of the PFAS that are contaminating everybody's breast milk.
Jesus.
And the only blood on the planet that they found no PFAS in is archived blood of the Korean War soldiers.
Wow.
So they had to go back that far. But DuPont and 3M are the big companies that are paying all the litigation right now. And, you know, it's in the biosolids and then they're land applying it. So, I mean, I have wastewater plants in Wisconsin that have to ship all their biosolids to a hazardous waste landfill out in Oregon, the state. And that costs a ton of money to ship all that on a train. And these small utilities don't have the financing to do this because, you know, say you have 1,000 people, you're spreading the cost amongst 1,000 people versus if you live in a city like New York where you have millions of people. So I don't know if a lot of these small utilities like the wastewater plants are going to just start dissolving and hook up to a bigger system to be able to kind of handle these problems
That makes sense.
or what. But
Yeah, that's crazy though. Isn't all these corporations make these things that are supposed to make your life better and it just winds up ruining everything for extra cash?
Well, I mean, I always think about the forever chemicals, why everybody has more cancer now. It's like so obvious that the past, 40, 50 years, the uprise in cancer has to be these forever chemicals.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just that. It's like, you know, it's the chemicals everywhere. It's like the
they're in
pesticides
everything.
on our food.
Yep.
And, you
And
know,
the pollution from gasoline and it's
Well, things in landfills that get leached off, things that people just burn, things get sprayed on kind of weird. New technology is supposed to like, you know, preservatives, stuff in food, kind of one connected thing, which is nuts. And it's just like building up over decades and decades.
and we get the landfill leachate. So like all the juice from the landfill goes to a wastewater plant. So
Wow.
think of like all those BPAs and all those chemicals.
Coming through that. Yeah.
And then it ends up back into our environment because we don't have the capacity to like take these things out. We don't have the technology and we don't have the money right now. And we don't know what to do with it. Once we remove it, what do we do?
Yeah.
there is no place to put it.
Are there plants that actually that can remove that kind of stuff, or is it like just
Right
sort
now,
of like
Some of
experimental?
them are doing I don't know if it's called microfiltration, but that's more like the drinking water side
Gotcha.
is taking it out with microfiltration, but you
But
know,
not in the treatment plant stuff.
not in the wastewater plant yet that I'm aware of.
Wow.
It might be out there.
There's a movie with Mark Ruffalo called
Yes.
Dark Waters. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
anybody wants to
That was
watch
good.
that, I watched that movie and I was like, well, now I'm depressed and positive that everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
But
There's
yeah.
another documentary called The Devil We Know on Netflix, and
Oh.
it's like the documentary on his story.
Wow. Yeah, it was so sad.
Yeah, I met with that attorney
Oh.
because a bunch of people that I know have PFAS in their wells, and they called me up and they're like, Brenda, we have this chemical and I don't know what it means, and these people came and told us to start drinking bottled water. Can you look at this? So I had them take screenshots and send it to me, and I was like, oh, you got PFAS. And it was like above 88 parts per trillion,
Jesus.
which the EPA set a standard of 70 as the health advisory level. They just dropped that down to like 0.02 parts per trillion for one of them, and even smaller for another one. So these things are toxic in really, really small levels,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get it out once it's in.
Yeah.
And then the chemical companies, so they just take the PFAS chain and they just cut it, and then they put it out to the public as a new product because science hasn't caught up yet to the regulatory bodies.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, they're just...
I had
It's a
friends of mine.
short-sighted.
Yeah, I had friends of mine who got new couches, and they were like, "We're gonna Scotch guard." And I was like, "Don't Scotch guard, don't
no.
Scotch guard." And they were like, "Oh, I didn't realize." And I was like, "Yeah, it's bad. It's bad."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped using Teflon. I used to use cast iron pans mainly.
Yeah, that's what I
But
use.
when you go to an Airbnb, every time you're like, does anybody have sometimes most of them do have a cast iron pan, but most of them just have a shitty
Yep.
Teflon when it's all just cut up, and I'm like, well, today's
Today's when we get cancer.
today's that omelet I'm gonna make
know.
is gonna have.
I know. I like the old Pyrex glass pots. I'm like, bring these back.
Yeah, or
there's-
stainless steel.
yeah, stainless steel. We have one of those.
Either
It's
of
great.
those. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's kind of crazy. It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on everything.
I know.
Clothes.
My son's dad has rectal cancer right now, and he made me dinner one night, and he had all the PFAS cookware. I was like,
Oh really? Oh,
we need
shit.
to have an intervention.
Yeah.
And he got so pissed at me. I'm like, oh man, I just gotta shut my mouth sometimes and just...
You're like, look, I'm not saying it came from that, but it probably did come from. I don't want to rub it
Exactly.
in, but
I mean,
know.
I work really hard to try to get it out of wastewater.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. And then when, you have friends and people in your life that know you're into this stuff and then they're doing it. And it's like, oh, if I can't get through to you,
Yeah.
how can I get through to anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is I hear when people are have a Teflon pan, they're like, yeah, but it's only if you scratch it. And I'm like, that's what they tell you. No, you're still heating it up and cooking your food that you're ingesting on it.
Yeah.
Who cares if you scratch it or not?
They say if you have a bird in the kitchen cooking with Teflon, it'll drop over dead from the fumes.
Oh my God.
that's crazy.
Yeah, you should read the book Slow Death by Rubber Ducky. Any new parent, read that book. It'll make you so depressed.
Oh, I mean, look at all the stuff that Johnson & Johnson put in all their baby products. Talc is asbestos. Baby oil is just a byproduct of gasoline, which is just plastic you're rubbing on your children. And then the stuff in baby wipes, besides the fact that we shouldn't be flushing them, is just all chemicals. And we learned from our doctor friends that that's why everybody has anal fissures and butts problems, because the chemicals that you're rubbing, even adults using baby wipes, it's like you bring a baby into the world and then you give them all these horrible chemicals. It's insane.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy. not as fun and comedic for a funny shit show.
I know,
but
this is supposed to be funny. I'm sorry.
no, we can go into something funny. What's your best cure for diarrhea or constipation?
That's
For
funny.
constipation, I use warm salt water.
Oh.
I'll put tons of salt in my water. I always put salt in my water.
Yes.
And it'll come
Flush
out.
it right out.
Yeah.
And what about diarrhea?
I don't get diarrhea very often.
Very
I just sit
lucky.
on the toilet when I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let it
let
go.
Yeah.
And what products do you like to use that help you with your pooping? Is it a stool? Is it it sounds like bidet is the place.
Yeah, the bidet
matches,
now.
sprays, supplements.
I did do a lot of squatty potty stuff. I was married to this guy from Indonesia, and one time I walked in on him while he was taking a shit, and he was like perched on top of the toilet like a bird, and he was butt naked, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm taking a fucking shit.
Yeah.
Shut the fucking door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who poops like that? But, you know,
as animals, the way we should be
Like
pooping.
tons of people actually.
Yeah.
I know. I
the
didn't know
majority
that.
of the planet.
So now sometimes I'll poop like that, or like my kid always poops like that.
Oh my God, hilarious.
That's so funny. Yeah. There was someone we talked on the show that did that too when they were younger, like a little bird.
Yeah.
But that's great.
And our last and favorite question, or actually, no, let me ask one more. What's the worst public toilet you've seen? You've probably seen a lot working in the field that you're in.
Let's see. I don't know if I ate something in Thailand one time and it gave me the shits where I was like peeing my poop for like 4 days, and I was on like a bus
Oy.
for like 8 hours, and
Oh my
like
God.
had to use the bathroom, and it was like a 5-gallon bucket in the back of a bus, and you know, like you washed your hands in a bucket with water, and that was probably the worst toilet I've ever seen. But then I've also traveled to like, you know, a lot of weird countries where I've gotten cheap places to stay, and then when I went into the bathrooms, I'm like, ugh, don't take your shoes off, just like squat and hover, and we're getting out of here in the morning, you know?
Completely. Oy.
That is, yeah. I was in Atlantic City over the weekend, or like for one day, and we haven't taken a bus in a million years. So I'm like, hopped on the bus, and 9 o'clock in the morning, it's already smells like shit. You can't escape it.
I
And
know.
this one guy is just like, excuse me, bus driver. He's like screaming, do you have any spray? It smells like shit in here. We're like, oh, he wasn't wrong, but I had my mask on. My wife we both had a mask on, so it wasn't as bad, but it was pretty fucking bad. Like just ripping through that mask. I can't imagine everybody else here just like raw dogging the
Yeah.
bus here. But it is just any kind of like closed and not a bucket like you had. That's got to be awful.
That
but
was
just
the worst.
Any kind of enclosed space is just the worst.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then our favorite question of the hour, floor versus pants. You have Bristol 7 coming out of you, but it doesn't sound like you get diarrhea that often. But if that did happen and there's no toilet in sight, where do you go?
Probably just shit on the floor. It's taken me back to like when I was pregnant with Hayden, my oldest son. I would like eat granola in the morning thinking I was healthy, but I had an allergy to oats and I didn't know about
Oh,
it.
shit.
And like an hour later, I'd be so sick. I'd just want to vomit and poop at the same time. And I was living up in the Bronx at that time, and my stop had construction, so you had to go past your stop and then
no.
transfer and then come back. And I remember like just running to my apartment. Like I didn't even care if I shit all over the subway and puked everywhere. I was just so uncomfortable, and like just getting back to my apartment and pooping and puking at the same time, like one in the garbage and one
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
toilet. Like, so I guess I wouldn't.
It's
For some reason
contextually sometimes though, because if you're on the train, what are you gonna do? It's like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I get an Instagram feed all the time, and I get tons of like people like pulling their pants down in grocery stores and like shitting in crates and stuff. I don't know if you guys get that on your Instagram or if it's just because I work in wastewater, but I would think that you would get it too
Yes.
because of all your poop
Yes.
talk.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
And then we have tons and tons of fans that share so many videos
Yeah.
online. Yeah. It's
I mean-
hilarious. Oh, so no more oats for you.
No, oats or flax.
Yeah, when
Oh.
you figure that out, you're like, God, like, oof, like what's wrong with me? This is so delicious.
Yeah. And do you want to share anything else with us before we go into our game?
Oh my God, I had like a million things I wanted to talk about. And now I'm like,
That's okay.
I printed out your email.
I mean, my big thing is just for people to be mindful of what they're flushing, and if you don't want your food growing with it, then don't put it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yes. Which also makes it really hard for people who are on different kind of prescription drugs.
Oh, that's a
You know?
huge problem.
Yeah.
And I went to a conference recently on prescription drugs, and they were saying that like a third of the pill is oftentimes the amount that a person needs, and they don't need the other part of the pill. So they're peeing and pooping all of these unused pharmaceuticals out, and then it's going into our drinking water, and the drinking water people cannot get that out.
Yeah.
And then it's being it's spread on the fields for, with the biosolids. So that's the big thing, is like people need to get healthier.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
just take a walk.
Yeah.
Take a walk every day. That
Overprescribing
changes so many
medication. It's
things.
just like ridiculous, out of control.
Yeah. Drink water and take walks. So many people don't drink water. They just drink soda all day and,
Get some exercise. Yeah.
and sunshine.
Yeah.
Get in that sun
Yeah, completely.
and try to go off the pharmaceuticals, the man drugs.
That would be great. All right. We're going to get to a little game. Shitty choices. Shitty choices. So today, it's pretty mild, I guess. Would you rather be the ugliest person in the world or the smelliest person in the world?
Oh.
So whatever you think ugly and smelly is, and magnify that by like 1,000.
I guess, I don't know. I guess smelly. I didn't wear deodorant today. I don't know if you guys can smell me.
Oh, no, I can't.
But they say if you don't like my smell, we just shouldn't reproduce.
Yes, that's true.
So
So you're going to go with smelly.
yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
Ellen?
I think maybe someone would find it sexy.
Oh.
Yeah. And I guess you could spray something in or put a candle on.
I would go for ugliest because I feel like even the ugliest person in the world could have a good TikTok career. People would watch that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? I mean, they like
yeah.
ugly animals.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking about this. I guess I would go with ugly too, because I just smells kind of give me like the heebie-jeebies. But ugly, I guess. Yeah, I guess you just kind of lean into it, because maybe someone's into this ugly. Like, ugly person's sexy, even though they're like, like repulsive. I'm thinking like the ugliest person I've seen, and then like just reimagine it like by like a million.
I was at a bar last week and there was a younger gentleman in there who looked just like Sloth from Goonies.
That's
And I
pretty
was
ugly.
like, oh my God, that's real.
Were you like, what's your TikTok, dude?
Exactly. I was like, I can see him having a big career off of his sloth-like
Yeah.
face.
If the ugly person is doing it themselves, if someone else is doing it, I don't want it to be exploitive. That's the thing.
yeah.
But yeah,
Right to
I guess if
yourself.
it's like, if you're gonna like market it, I think I would lean into it like I would just hide in the shadows. I don't go grocery shopping at like super late at night with a hood on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get into a little news right now. So here we go. So this restaurant, which is in Israel, got blasted for serving up a chocolate dessert in a toilet.
Oh, no.
And I'm sure I've seen this online a bunch, and it's like a little restaurant, and they bring out a full toilet bowl to your table, and it's like sorbet, chocolate, all kinds of weird, like, it looks like shit, basically.
I've seen
I mean,
those videos.
we have a show. I'm like, there is no way I would ever do. I'd go maybe just to check it out, but the thought of like, I'm like, I
Eating
don't need
out
to
of
be
a
that
toilet?
kitschy. It's just like, it's just so desperate. It's like, you know what I mean? It's all we got something different here. I pretend we're eating shit out of here. So Dulce du Leche was one of the, again, this is from the New York Post. So they always like, they're the worst writers, but they always have really funny puns in here. But yeah, people were just like complaining, and viewers are like just saying, how could you? This is disgusting. Like da-da-da-da-da. There's another place, I guess, in Pakistan
Oh.
that has one. And there's one in Korea.
Yes, I've seen that Korean one
Yeah, yeah.
video.
And
I feel like in Asia they can get away with that and nobody complains.
Yeah, don't they have a poop museum in
Exactly.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Japan?
Exactly.
there's one in South Korea too. And at a certain point, you're like, what are we doing here? That like hard up for, it's just kind of funny that, I mean,
Because they're all hoping somebody's going to put it on TikTok or Instagram,
Completely.
and then more people are like, I got to be a part of that trend.
But my thing is like any other trend that eventually ends. So
Yeah.
you might as well just work on making a good restaurant than
Yes.
a gimmick.
Yeah.
But that being said, a lot of people were complaining. They're like, what is this? Like, why are like people walking by, like people eating shit out of there, which is the shock factor. But I realize the irony in the show we have right now. But I
Oh, Lordy.
mean, my bad.
Timing.
That was like perfect timing.
Oop.
But, like, there's no way. I'm like, I'm going to pass on this. Like, just, It's just so dumb.
Well, I remember during COVID, all those videos of people making like punch, like alcohol drinks in a toilet bowl.
Yeah, it's
So gross.
It's just I'm not on TikTok, but that's a trend I've noticed too. Is like people just wasting food, making the dumbest things just to get some kind of juice.
Yeah, completely.
It just cracks me up. I'm like, are you that desperate? I guess you are, but it's just also how much money did you spend on that thing to make the one shitty meal that no one's gonna eat? So anyway, yeah. So if you're in Tel Aviv or Pakistan or Japan, Korea, you can find
Eat out of a
restaurant, eat out of a toilet. All kinds of chocolatey treats.
Delicious.
That's another thing, real quick. You're only confined to chocolate or something brown. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna have a vanilla sorbet. What is this bullshit? We want like the real thing. Or maybe you could do some kind of yellowy liquid thing.
Gross.
Like a lemonade.
Oh,
With
gross.
big straws sticking out the side.
Well, I remember when some of the model girls would do like dominatrix stuff. Like guys would have them eat a bunch of mint chocolate ice cream and vomit it up on their chest, or give themselves a peanut butter enema and poop it out on someone's chest, or
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I'm so glad that's not. I'm so glad that I don't ever want that done. Like some people are like compelled to like have to do it. This is my thing. I'm very happy.
I will gladly do that for anyone if you pay me enough money. I will poop on their chest with peanut butter.
And you heard it here, everybody.
Yeah.
Call Brenda.
Everyone's gotta have a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
You should always have like 3 jobs.
Yeah, you know, just something like, you know, to keep on the edge there, just in case. And that is on the edge.
Right. And Brenda, do you want to plug anything while we're closing out the show?
I have a YouTube channel where I make some silly little wastewater videos, and I also talk about my fluoride issue. It's the lovely Brenda, I think it is, or Brenda Staudenmaier.
Okay.
And it will be linked in the show notes.
Yes, for sure. So go check that out. And thanks for laughing everything but with us.
And happy pooping, everybody, and enjoy your butthole.
For more info, go to heypoopypodcast.com or email us at heypoopypodcast@gmail.com. You can send in show ideas, guest requests. Check us out on Twitter at heypoopy, Instagram at heypoopypodcast, TikTok, heypoopypodcast, and our awesome new Facebook fan page. Go check it out at heypoopypodcast. We're also on Discord at heypoopydumps, or you can contact us at our new awesome hotline, 203-998-5579.
Hey Poopy Podcast is brought to you by Perfect for Entertainment. Produced by Dave and Ellen. Edited by Dave. Executive producers Stormy Leather. Theme song by Jordan Perlson. Hey Poopy!